here for.
Yeah. So I had a iridology appointment on Tuesday as I got into New York. Pretty incredible. When somebody looks into your eye and can see so many things about you and your ancestors and your system and your traumas and your like entire life before your eyes, but also like potentially your future.
Your soul.
So yeah. And it was really cool this time because he had like this magnifying glass that was like all he was sat like this close to my face like the whole time. And we are just like talking like this. He was all up in my face, and we were having some great conversations. It was really cool to see how different aspects of the eye um correlate to different body systems. Uh and like the all these rings around our eyes with different like little maybe cloudy parts are like associated with the lymphatic system, or the size of our pupils are associated with our adrenals. Even like things like the red uh like veins that might be popping out from the left or right are associated with certain adrenal functions, thyroid and hormonal functions. Hold on one sec. Oh, okay. No Kara today. That's fine.
Yeah, I just seen that pop up too.
Yeah. Um, but it was really cool. He had a very interesting perspective. He gave me a protocol this morning, which I'm kind of going through, and it's going to be a lot of herbs. It's like a ton of herbs. Like I want to say like 20 different ones. So I was kind of going through that.
Like all at once? Or
Yeah.
just like what?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Um, I'll list a few of them off. So he said mix them, mix all these different herbs in like a big thing and then take like a small amount of it. So it's not like you're not, yeah.
Like a tea almost type deal.
Yeah.
Like
You just put it in water and stuff. And then he gave me a whole a kind of meal plan almost, but it's a lot of no, you can't eat this. So it's like, what can I eat type deal. So we're gonna get on another call and talk about it soon, but it's like all the powders are like cleavers, milk thistle, dandelion, aloe, slippery elm, comfrey, sweet anise, Paul d'Arco, black walnut, curcumin, grapefruit, Oregon grapefruit, Coca-Cola, nettle leaf. I've heard of a lot of these before.
uh-huh.
So
So it's like cleansing. It sounds cleansing, but then also he's throwing in some building in there too, probably so that you're not just like completely depleted.
mhm. Yeah. So super interesting that day. And then he also did like some energy work on me. Stuff called Jinjitsu. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Um,
But basically, and he showed me how to do it, and it was like I hold my elbow with one hand and then like touch on like a certain part of my neck, like underneath my thyroid, and like wait for the pulse to like kind of make its way through my system, connecting like I don't know my body. Um, and he had one here and then on the back of the neck too. So that was just like kind of interesting. He did some of that all over my body in different spots, um, connecting to different organs and different systems that have been ancestrally like either blocked or have had some issues. And then Wednesday and Thursday were or when yeah, Wednesday, Thursday were amazing. On Wednesday, I saw an acupuncturist who did a lot of balancing work and the cupping stuff. So he had like needles and stuff, and he did a lot of good circulation things. Um, we didn't talk too much, but I feel like he did a lot to align certain parts of my body that weren't, to really bring in balance from like a a different standpoint. Yeah, I see a Japanese acupuncturist, and it's just a different style than what I'm normally used to. Um, so I think it was just kind of cool um, to see that and to feel that. And then straight after that, I went into a chiropractic guy, and he was unbelievable. He like blew my freaking mind. He barely
Mm,
did any work on me, like didn't even crack my back or anything. He did more of a he his approach was very unique too. Like he just like talked to me for the first 20 minutes and was sharing his thoughts about the world and energy and like healing in general. And then I
mm,
realized he was a quantum healer and not
mm,
just like a normal chiropractor. And I was like, oh, okay.
mhm.
Like, here we go. I'm down for it. Like, let's go. Um, and he would like, let me pull up the text message he sent afterwards. Um, his name is Dr. Zev. Really cool. He,
And he's in New York
mhm.
City.
Yeah, he had me, he did like muscle testing. So he would have me like bring my arm out, and then he would go like this, go like this, go like this, go like this, but like touch, like just have like a finger on like part of my spine or something, and he would go
Uh,
like this, and like it would go down, like when he touched like a certain spot, and then he realized like, oh, there's pain there, and then he would read from his book and figure out like sort of the emotional connection behind that muscle testing, and then he gave me like an affirmation, or he would just like talk about it for a second, and he would relate it to um like a certain organ function or something. I think I was telling you about Louise Hayes a little.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so similar to that kind of stuff. And I released some trauma like uh on his table, like generations worth. Like,
Damn.
yeah, he sent me a text later, and he was like, shame, age 12, low self-esteem inherited from mom's side for 13 generations. We released those frequencies today. I was like, what? I was like, holy shit. And it was
Wow.
wild because like when I was on the table, and when he like did like barely anything, like anything, he like rolled something on my back and then tapped on my tailbone with like this little thing, and I just laughed. I couldn't help but laugh. I just started giggling. I was like, what is going on? And it was like like a deep solar plex like laugh. I was like, oh, what is happening? um and he did that for my thoracic on my right side and my hip flexor on my left, and he gave me an affirmation for the left hip flexor, because I've always had weird left hip issues, and like I haven't been able to kind of overcome them. I've done a lot of body work on myself, even a lot of movement, and I always find it like my femur head's like super sticky, and like
Mm,
end up compensating on this whole side. Um, but he said basically it comes from a fear of the future, and that all I need to kind of do to overcome that is to be in the now and see what I can do in that present moment to support the future. And it was like, whoa, just like so.
well, that
I walked back to um I was staying with my breathwork coach. I walked back to his place. It took me like I decided not to take the tea and just like walk. And I was just like smiling, walking down in New York City, and in the middle of New York, just smiling at random people. Um, it was great. And then like really just I think the combination of that, and then working with the iridologist, he also said something that I wrote some notes about later, um, about like visualization and visualization from source, from the unmanifested into the manifested, into, or from the source to the blueprint to the, like, that is unmanifested into the manifested. So he described it as like, how people bless their food and stuff. Well, we can do that at like a, almost like a DNA level, and then like expand it outwards. And
Yeah.
so I like really took that in to heart, and like really tried to almost embody that as like a seed, and that seed of intention that like is part of the subconscious mind and the soul, and just like really just kind of being in that state in that moment. um
Mm.
and so the emotions that I was able to like just open myself up to were like, were authentic,
Mm.
um and then basically Dr. Zev, when I was done, he was like, your chakras are all open right now. they're
Mm.
all they're wide open. I was like, holy shit, okay. Whatever that means, like, it's good. um that's kind of like the,
Oh,
it seems like a good thing, like, right,
I'd say.
when somebody tells you
So
that.
that what all the yogis are trying to do.
So it was a very good couple days, and then I went into down into Brooklyn to see the Kambo practitioner, and that was kind of wild. I like sat on the train for about 45 minutes and sat up as straight as I could. My spine was like super long. Um, just sort of taking in the moment, just had my headphones on and just breathing like light, slow, and deep. Um, cadence breathing kind of for the most part. And I started to bawl my eyes out, like on the train, just like, I don't even know why. I just like couldn't stop crying. I'd be like filled. And I was like, whoa. And that lasted about like, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And then I got to the combo practitioner's place. It was great. I could smell like the sage she was burning the second I entered the building. Oh, I was in a good place, I think, for it, to receive all the medicine and stuff. I wasn't nervous, ready to be a part of it. I had also done a reading with Kara the night before, with her and my breathwork coach, which was really
Mm.
cool, just to
Mhm.
experience and be in that energy. So like the energy was great, just kind of like all week. Um, just getting more and more into the gene keys is really, really cool. Um, and sharing knowledge, and like that podcast that talks about the energetic synthesis stuff. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to that, but there's
Mhm.
some pretty wild information in there that I was getting kind of downloads from, like all throughout the whole week. So it was like very very empowering, um and just like being on that wavelength, and that energy and vibration all week was kind of wild. I'm still kind of on it, definitely fading a little bit as I, kind of adjust and tune into everything. But yeah, then I went into the combo session, and it was good. We did four dots,
Mhm.
which I had done four the previous time too. Um, and I wasn't nervous or anything, so I was just kind of like chilling, um, ready for it to happen. And so she does the four and lets it kind of hit the system, and then she usually flips it halfway through and sprays water so it kind of like absorbs again. Um,
Mhm.
and she'll chant halfway through, sing like a whole song, and like has sage and feathers, and is like kind of blowing them towards you, and like lets
Mhm.
medicine really kind of come through. And for the first, I don't know, 10-ish minutes, I like felt like all the heat and everything through my lymphatic system, everything start to drain, everything start to move, and my face got like super puffy. Like it
Mm.
gets like you like get all frog like,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
totally.
interesting.
Yeah, when they do the medicine down in like Peru and stuff, they a practitioner will go and do like what's called the dieta, where they spend 7 days with the frogs and do the
Mm.
medicine every single day. And they'll do it like in the more pure version. So they'll have like they might even put it on 1 dot as opposed to 4 because it's so potent. And
Mm.
then it starts to enter into their subconscious because they're doing it every single day and they dream with the frogs and they're like really,
Mm.
really in tune with it, which is why I really like this practitioner that I worked with. And she actually just joined the chat too. Um, her name's Svetlana. She's in New York. She's great.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm,
like facilitated the whole thing. So anyway, she like it was working its way through my system, and then I felt like it kind of gets stuck a little in my maybe my intestines or my stomach somewhere. Because you're also supposed to drink like 2.5 liters of water beforehand, so you have something to throw up.
mm.
But the heat kind of made it go the other way.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I was like really kind of feeling that, and then like I said, my spine was super straight, and when she flipped it, I felt all that heat kind of come and pull through again, and it really like I started to sweat like pretty heavily.
Mm.
Because you can purge in all these different kinds of ways. You can purge by crying, by yawning, by sweating, by puking. So I like puked for the first 10 minutes and it wasn't everything, I could tell because I drank like a lot of water.
Mm.
It was like honestly maybe a fifth of what I drank. So the rest of it was definitely working its way through my system. And then I felt all the heat kind of go towards this one location. And it was like super heavy around my um sacral area, I think. Or like kind of my navel, like just that
Mm.
kind of whole belly area. And it started to pull blood from everywhere. My face got like super pale. That's what
Mm.
she told me later. And it I tapped into like breathing with it. So I was like throughout the whole thing, I was kind of like just cadence breathing whenever I felt like I needed to throw up or like I needed to move something, I would just like kind of take in a little bit more oxygen and kind of exhale slowly with it so it could like really work its way through the whole system because I was like very well aligned and like sitting on my spine. So everything was like definitely open. Um, so I could like allow myself to throw up from the deepest parts. And then as that heat got deeper and deeper, I like paused my breath at the very lowest part and like was like not breathing, like
Mm.
intentionally and comfortably, like just not breathing.
Mm.
I was like maybe doing a little bit of air hunger, but like basically not breathing. And I pulled all the blood, and that's when the visuals started to come in. You know, when you're like kind of about to pass out, or and like things get dark,
Mm-hmm,
or
mm-hmm.
like randomly you'll I don't even know, like in the morning sometimes you get like those flickers of little stars randomly.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Uh-huh.
kind of like that, but it was like way more intense. And it started to just get like more and more and more and more intense. And it was like different stars, different shapes and sizes with different like geometrical patterns within them, mostly spirals and stars. And they all were flashing like blue and yellow and white lights.
Mm.
And it got like that was like the psychedelic kind of aspect of what had happened because I feel like I was looking at my cells almost. I was like,
Mm.
my mind was transported to where that heat was and like where that healing was happening. Um,
Mm.
and I was still like kind of not breathing. And she like came over and made sure I was like didn't fall over or anything, but I was able to kind of stay up and honestly be conscious of where I was and where my structure and everything still was. Like I was able to kind of stay up here, even though I was like about to pass out. I was on like a stable spine, so like it
Mm,
didn't fall over or anything. Whereas
mm,
like if I maybe didn't clear my chakras or do some of the, I don't know, work I had done with the acupuncturist or the chiropractor, it might have like I might have been like or something.
yeah.
Yeah. And then I like slowly brought myself out of it when I felt the need to breathe. And that was like kind of the end of it. Um, but it really, I feel like it did so much healing. Um, and then I like crashed. I like took a nap. I was yawning at the very end. Like when I started to bring myself back out of it, I was tons of yawning, tons of sweat. She had
Mm,
covered me in blankets, and then I like sort of just laid down for like 10, 15. Um, and then yeah, I just like there's something about it that's just super magical. Um, Connecting with the frog in that way. I did an intention in my head prior of putting like I literally envisioned like an actual frog and like putting it in a space of pure light and love
mm,
and like just giving and receiving just joy and any just high vibrational emotion that I could just exchange with it. Um, and so it was like I said, like bringing it from the source and the metaphysical or the unmanifested into the manifested, like it that pure intention just going into the whole experience, I think had a huge part
mm,
in what it was able to do. And then the last couple of days have just been sort of taking those thought patterns and intentions and applying them to everything else that I'm doing, you know,
mm,
movement, food. Um, like I had a workout yesterday where I was like the slowest workout of my entire life.
okay.
um, and it might have been the best one that I've ever done. Like I really spent so much time in certain positions, um, really like allowing my body to experience things from that like DNA level and then expand outwards. And the way I've been thinking about fascia and really how deep it kind of goes, um, and the layers of fascia and how it connects to healing and to movement and to our hormones and all of these functions. We really have to start this spiral so small and starts at these like 90-degree angles and then starts to like
Mm,
starts to spiral out. It
mm,
starts to get bigger and bigger and into bigger movements and into bigger breaths. Uh,
mm,
and being in tune with all of that, with the breath and the movement and the food and the just the energy in general has been kind of wild. Also, I
mm,
had I got I did a tarot card reading and that was kind of
mhm.
wild. Like, holy shit.
When
Uh,
you were in New York,
yeah, she had a
you get kind of all of this brought you like into deeper presence. It kind of sounds like just yeah, presence really.
mhm. It's I was talking to Kara about the 38 gene key,
Yes. Yes.
and I know she's been talking to you about it too. Um, and I read it. It's like it's crazy because I do feel it connects with how I sleep. Um, Not really how I sleep, but how I wake up. There's like so much weight on me when I wake up.
Mm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's
there,
interesting. just because. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, the weight of it, I think has affected my adrenal glands and my kidney function and therefore my thyroid, um, and like all these different systems for however long. And just pulling this card was just kind of wild as I connected to it too, because there was like all these overlapping connections between the card and 38. And it was like literally, like I can read some of it, but it was all about the warrior and being a warrior. And
Mm.
um at least it says like the indomitable spirit of the underdog, like uh and the genetic codon family, and like the archetypes that are like part of that, one being like the warrior. And so I'll read this actually because it's worth it to read. It's like and the 38, before I even mention this, the 38 appears in my north node.
Okay, yeah, you have that's your north node.
Mhm.
Okay.
So it was like
That's my pearl.
what?
It's my pearl in the
Oh,
gene keys.
yeah. So it one the this is probably backwards or like overexposed. Fuck. Maybe I can't. There we go. There we go.
And now it's out of my screen, but it's
So this
okay.
is North Waboose, which is like a winter buffalo. It says spiritual connection, completion, and wisdom. So over the past like 3 months, I've been doing like another herbal protocol and like got rid of that parasite and did like all this crazy healing work. And
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
definitely feeling like a sense of completion, but also the fact that it was 223 or 323 whatever, like the palindrome and like the whole spiritual equinox and like the start of the new year and like all of this like completion of the winter, moving into like a different part of my journey or whatever.
Mm.
And it so it felt like very attuned to that immediately. And then I'll read the sort of prophecy. It said, a time of great knowledge is upon you. You will have a newfound sense of purpose and inner confidence about yourself and your abilities. This confidence does not come from a place of ego. Instead, it has developed over time with patience and inner work on the part of the seeker. The North card. So the North card, I was like, North,
Yeah.
represents a serene acceptance of your gifts and a willingness to share them with others. The season of the North is winter, suggesting you have reached some form of completion, bringing you to a place of peace. Um, your connection to the divine continues to grow, and the spiritual aspects of your life take on new meaning. Synchronicity, prayer work, meditation, appreciation of nature, compassion, and wise counsel are all aspects of the North card. Purification occurs subtly within through the invisible thread that connects us to the network of creation. So that was like that whole unmanifested blueprint into the manifested like source. Like these messages were just so clear to me that like
Mm-hmm.
just repeated. Um, the state of enlightenment takes on the colors of the rainbow warrior, and like that was wild to me because in the podcast they talk about a rainbow warrior, and then also I was talking with Brian and Kara about this and how like I was literally mentioning the same thing, the exact same thing. Like the rainbow warrior is all about being in a state of enlightenment and connection with your chakras and sharing your gifts and rising and being a part of like that um true sense of self. Uh
Mm.
and it was I was like I was like that because that's what Brian's work has been about over the past however many years of his life, is to have his own Kundalini awakening and
Mm.
open the chakras and be a part of that. And even more so, like the Spiritual Ascension podcast mentioned those things too in different ways, and they had different connections to that in terms of like people of different bloodlines and how they can connect to that. And somehow feel connected to one of the Melchizedek bloodline that I've mentioned before. The like it's all about like the triple solar masculine, triple solar feminine, creating the sheath that holds the sword, which is the vagus nerve, like literally the
Mm.
sheath for the sword of the warrior. Like all this stuff just kept getting downloaded. And so the last part of it says, the state of enlightenment takes on the colors of the rainbow warrior. Learn and accept the difference between receiving information and receiving true wisdom. And then the prayer was, spirit powers of the north, let me recognize the wisdom and the honor of teaching the sacred space. And that even goes, like the prayer goes on and says, help me to have the courage and conviction to wear the colors of the rainbow warrior, purify my mind, body, and spirit through my connection to Creator. And the honor is funny because that's the last part of the gene key. And I was like,
That's the city.
yeah. And I was like, what? Like, it's like, holy shit. Um, and so I realized I'm sort of walking in between the spaces of still learning how to fully let go of the shadow of it and walk in the gift of it. But I know where the gift even goes from there. And that's the honor on the
Yeah.
battlefield. And that's the whole like dance on the battlefield of life. And it's just like being on the bus ride home, like, what is happening? What is all this information? So it's, and then it was very interesting because over the past couple of days I've had conversations with people and just becoming more aware of more of the darkness on this planet, and um the work that kind of needs to be done, because the 38 goes up 5 times in my in in my
Yeah, in your
in my chart.
profile.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
as soon as I accepted like that I was in a new space, it was like, here's all of this like all of this other shit you have to think about now. And I'm like, all right, well, like let's bring it on, um
Yeah.
uh
Well, and that key is just so, I love that key. I've like sat with that key kind of a lot because it is in like my pearl sequence. And
mm.
when I first read it, I was like, when I found out that was my pearl, I was like, I'm the freaking warrior. Like, oh my,
Okay.
I'm the warrior. Like me, like no. But and it's so, what's actually kind of crazy is, like I had mentioned to you that sometimes I'll just like record myself talking because I just feel like something needs to be expressed. And I'm like, I don't really have a platform to express it. So I'm just going to record it anyway. But I was talking about the 38. And then I called, like in that recording. And then I called Kara like maybe like a day or two later. And then all of a sudden we start talking about our dreams and like the 38 comes up. And then she's telling you about the 38. And now it's coming through. But it's such a beautiful key because it's like he talks about how the shadow and the gift are actually like they're really similar because the shadow is of struggle and the gift is perseverance, but it's like the light warrior. So like the only thing that actually really like shifts it from the shadow to the gift is like by moving into the heart. And like it's, when you read the I Ching about it, it's all about opposition too, and like standing in truth in the face of opposition.
Hmm.
Um, And I just love it though, because it's actually like on a deep level, it's also about like fighting for love and fighting for truth and really standing in that, but not doing it from like the mind. It's like doing it from the heart and like realizing that you actually don't have to change anyone. You just have to stand in the light and like stand in the truth and let that ripple out, you know?
Mhm.
That's like what was coming through for me, at least when I was
Yeah,
talking about.
that's exactly it. That's what I experienced all week. It was like, oh, I can fix my hip by like literally like just being in like and then it ripples out and then I'm like smiling at random people on the street. Like it's just like
And now their vibration is raising. And it wasn't like you had to go up to them and be like, you have to do this. Like you just become it. Like
mhm.
you're just it. And that's enough. Like, and that really does ripple out.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like a powerful teaching, especially nowadays, because we are so divided and like constantly battling each other and like trying to convince everyone why they should be something else or like why they should believe in this or that. And it's just like, just stand in it and let that be enough. Like, you know, like let that vibration ripple out.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well said. Like yeah. The the line between the struggle and the perseverance, like you said, is very small, but it's very profound too. Um, because you can sit in that space, in that struggle forever. And a lot of
Mhm,
people are. And I know
mhm,
I was, even just reflecting on it in my past and my job and my relationships and like even how I approached food and the speed of everything and the societal impacts that like everything, all of those things combined just caused so much inflammation and stress in my body. And it was like, and then that's where the warrior got kind of awakened. And it got awakened through something, like that. There's a point where like you die and you get reborn, and there's
mhm.
nothing like there. It's a choice at that point to resonate at those higher frequencies and just like let it do the things. Like it was like literally what Dr. Zev had said. He said, be in the now and see what you can do in the present to support your future. So getting rid of that fear and just transmuting it into love. And it just turned into, every day, let's try and do something that's just going to bring you out of that.
Mm,
And not try, but do, like
mhm, mhm,
actually do.
mhm.
Um, yeah, it's, it's been a wild week.
Like the struggle becomes the gift.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's been my whole path over the last 4 or 5 years, is like to just share that
Mm,
struggle. Um, because a lot of people I think are like that. I really like what you were talking about a while with the gene keys a while ago. You're talking about the different perspectives between the human design and the gene keys and how he really like connects I think just wider perspectives of it. Because
yeah.
I read both of them.
Mhm,
Um and I feel like the human design was definitely more personal, like
mhm, mhm.
very specific, whereas the gene key was more society has this problem.
Yeah, it's universal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Richard took Ra's like concepts, I guess you could say, and then he just made it way more universal. And so it's like, yeah, Ra was a ego manifester. And so it actually makes sense
Hmm.
why he wrote in the way that he wrote it, because it was really coming from his ego, but I can feel that when I read it. It's like
Same.
got a lot of his own perspective, whereas when you look at it from the Gene Keys perspective, it's like it feels to me like the universe is
Yeah,
communicating it. It like touches me on that level.
more of a collective level. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. So it's been a wild week for sure. I think um I think a lot of it is really, really cool. I think a lot of it is gonna help a lot of healers. Um, like just the gene keys and like just this like concept in general of bringing in the the emotions into things and connecting healing through emotion through source. Um, and that teaching
Mhm.
is going to show itself in so many different ways. And I keep seeing it in like different aspects of things, like even the tantra stuff that you talk about, and just all of it. It's so very cool. It's so very connected.
Mm-hmm. I know it's interesting too, because earlier in the week we were talking about the emotions and like the organs and how I was starting to feel all of it coming through as I'm cleansing. Yeah, it's just
Yeah, there's a book that my I was telling you about it, right? The Louise Hayes. Sorry.
yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna try and grab that. There are healers that are working in that space already. Um, and it's definitely going to be a part of it. I think it's something that everybody should kind of look into. uh,
Mm. I also had actually mentioned it in our group because it's like
Mhm.
um in Ayurveda there there's like the koshas, which are the different body layers. And so there's like five different body layers, and it starts with the physical body, and then it goes to the breath body, to the mind and the emotional, and then to the higher mind, and then to the bliss body. But we were kind of just talking about in the group how like it was I forgot that the one woman asked that question about like the connectiveness of eating, like what you're eating and like the physical body and how it affects everything else. But
Mhm.
it just really goes to show that it's all connected. Like for all of these layers, like what you do to your physical body, you do to everybody. What you do to your energetic body, you do to everybody. Like what you think about, you is affecting every your physical body, your emotional body. It's just like it really is all connected. And that's what that the kosha is. When I learned that, it was like it really was like an aha moment for me. I just it's such an easy system to like look at and to really understand the concept of like, wow, everything is connected, interconnected, and everything affects everything else.
Yeah, what is it called again? The coach.
Koshas, Koshas. Yeah, you can like pull up a picture of it.
Yeah. Oh wow, cool.
And that's really actually what I would like whenever I figure out what it is that I'm doing. I would like to kind of work with that the kosha system or like just
Hmm.
those layers.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Like exactly what I was feeling throughout the whole week is just trying to not trying but doing. I was actually doing this. Um, I think I wasn't hitting. No, I was working with the bliss body into the wisdom, the true wisdom of it, and like working top down.
Yeah. And so what happens is like the once you it doesn't really matter what layer you start with, but like the bliss body is like the body that really like that's the body that really can't be touched. I, it's like I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but
It's the unmanifested that I kind of
it's the one that shines through when you start clearing the lower three. So when you like when the lower three kind of start to clear up, then all of a sudden you start to access the Vyanamaya kosha, which is like the higher mind. So this is going to be like where you really start tapping into your intuition.
what do you
And
mean
then when
by
you
lower three? Like the lower three chakras?
well, it's so there's the Anamaya kosha. Are you looking at a picture of it?
Yes.
Okay, so do you is it labeled?
Yeah, here, I'll pull it up in a sec. See. Just like a couple Google things. Screen share. Do you see that?
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. So the Anamaya kosha is, yeah, it's all labeled here, but that's like no, the food body, the physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the energy body, which is also known as the breath body.
Okay.
The Manamaya kosha is the mind and emotional body. So it's like when you start to work to like clear any blocks that are in those bodies, which you were literally doing all week, then that's when you start to tap into the Vyanamaya kosha, which is your wisdom body. Like that's when you start tapping into your higher mind. And then the Anandamaya kosha, which is the bliss body, just will naturally start to like come through.
Wow.
Just as a result of clearing these layers, these koshas, but they're all intertwined and working together all of the time.
Yeah.
It's just like the bliss body is the body that really, it's always there. It can't even really be touched, like, but it can be like so there can be so many layers of dust over it that when
Yeah.
you really start to work with the lower three, especially, um, then all of a sudden, like the
They'll just,
divine
yeah,
just
they'll
starts
just get
shining.
channeled through. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. And that's
Yeah.
probably why I was able to channel that through that workout that I mentioned too. Like I was able to be in my physical body from the bliss body immediately because I was like, I had cleared all those channels already and I was just in the moment from coming from a place of intention and source and embodying love, embodying a higher vibration, uh,
Yeah.
and using it as a tool.
Yeah.
Like,
You are more like more in tune with it because it's always there. It's always there. We just don't, we just get out of touch, lose touch with it.
wow.
Yeah, comment. Well, that's beautiful. Your week and all your experiences. I was gonna ask you, like, I'm curious with the iridology, like what in the eye is showing like the the past life, like the ancestral. Did he mention or like touch on that? Because I'm just super curious.
Um, so like in the eye, you have all these sort of like white lines and grooves, and they all kind of go like this all around the whole eye.
Uh,
With like tiny like, and some
okay.
of them will have like little shapes and like little clearings. And the more lines actually like the the more defined the lines are and the less of them there are, um the more like energy kind of comes through in different ways, and you want them to be clear and clean and defined,
Mm,
because that means that the energy systems are working, or the systems in general are working and clearing energy. So like a lot of it is like, here, let me pull up iridology map. So when you look at the eye, for example, let's see if this is a good one. Yeah, this might be okay. Freaking too small. Yeah, this is okay. Let's see that one. Hold on. Hold on. I have to stop this for a sec.
I'm like, didn't realize how my face in the camera.
So yeah, let's see if we can see this stuff. Hold on. Oh no. Fucking A. Making me sign into Adobe. I don't want to do this right now. Um, fuck.
Can you just zoom into that one?
No, I can't. It's gonna
Oh.
kick me out. Wait, I can zoom into this one maybe. Or here, I got an idea. Hold on. Nope, that's gonna fucking open that up. Oops, that's not even the right one. Well, either way, we can kind of see. mm, Oh, here we go. No, that's a bad one. So within the iridology chart, you can see all of these things, all of these like, oh, this is where the liver is, this is where the thyroid is, this is where the
Oh.
kidney is. You can get like negative, you can get like you can see the blockages or see the like little dark shapes or just like little indents in the eye, or even like, so there's these rings on the outside here.
Mm-hmm.
See these are can show up with like little like kind of cloudiness around certain
Mm-hmm.
areas, and those are
Mm-hmm.
connected to specific lymph nodes. And so like there's like, for example, on my left side towards my uh let's say my, okay, if this is left, my nose is right in the middle, right? On the left, on my left side, there was like four little dots up here, and then they started to fade. So the fact that they were fading and it was clean along this little ridge down here meant that I had started to work on cleaning my lymphatic system and like some
Mm-hmm.
of the things, because prior to that, it was probably all like circles, just going kind of down the whole thing. So like all the breath work that I've been doing over the past year, all the diet changes, all the mucus that I've been getting rid of in my system, um, has allowed a lot of that to clear and has allowed a lot of the drainage to happen. And when the drainage happens, like that's when certain systems kind of come back online. Um, but even more like in, it's kind of interesting. I wish I had like a picture of my eye that I could bring up. But he has like, he'll show you like, you get these striations and they all like they'll break apart, and that even shows lymphatic drainage. But he can tell like different injuries that have happened in your body, like literally your back, your upper low mid back can have like these like connections here. And even on the outside, like I think I was mentioning, you can see, I'll actually see if I can bring my eye close enough to my camera. Hold on. I don't know if you can see some of the redness. Like,
Okay, maybe a little bit in like the white part of your eye.
yeah. So
Yes.
that can dictate like stress on your adrenal glands. Like
Okay.
that'll like, there's all these like little keys and like ways to kind of look at it. And I don't know too much about it. Like there's more to, actually I'm like really curious. Um yeah, so that red mark was going right into the thyroid,
Oh, okay.
right in there. And then like people get them in there and the kidneys and the gallbladder. So like that, like there's stress on the eye. And then the pupil itself, I think I mentioned, is also part of the adrenals and how it works. And then there's like, you can get things like cholesterol rings where this whole outer ring is just like kind of blurry, and people, you'll see it in people's eyes and stuff. Um, I like
It's
might
pretty incredible.
I might even take like a course in it or something just to be aware of it,
Yeah.
because
And
there.
now iridology has like come up so much for me just randomly. And like I was saying, a lot of people would be like, when I would say I was an Ayurveda, they'd be like, "Is that what the thing with the eye?"
Yeah,
Like, no. But
yeah. I think
yeah,
there's
it's super interesting.
it's worth it to like even just be paying attention to those things uh as like a healer, as just like as someone who's looking to who like I think you should just be aware, and like everyone should be aware of it. Like everyone should learn the system so they can figure out how to heal themselves. Um
Yeah, or even just being aware of your eyes and like you know, paying more attention to your eyeballs and seeing like what is going on with your eyeballs.
yeah, what's going on with your system? Like if you're
Yeah.
like everybody should look at their eyes in the mirror tonight and really look and like really pay attention to every little spot in there. And if there is cloudiness, if there is like a little circle, or if there is certain striations at certain degrees, uh it's and then that's where like I don't know, he could tell some stuff that I couldn't. So he recognized that he doesn't have like 100% of the skills of some people within the iridology community, and he's been working 30 years.
Mm,
And like he could tell, um so that's where they could tell some ancestral stuff. And he asked if I, like certain things, like if my if there was a male on my dad's side, on my mom's side, that had heart problems. And I was like, yes, my mom's dad died of a heart attack in his 50s. And it was like,
mm,
there's calcification on your heart that you just should
mm,
be aware of. I was like, oh, okay. And he was
mm,
like, literally, he can prescribe you like an herb that's going to help with the calcification of that. And he was telling me about same thing sort of happened in his family when he was 69 years old, and for like generations, like there was heart attacks in like every single male. And
mm,
even his brother had like open heart surgery in like his mid to late 50s, and it was
mm,
all based around that. And it was like all this, like I don't think it was the exact same thing, but it was like there was a degree of pressure, or like something there that was potentially blocking an artery or like a specific thing, because it all gets like, if we don't break the patterns of it, and if we don't like shift away from even the subconscious thought patterns that are like certain things that are ingrained in our nervous systems or in our DNA,
mm,
then we're not separating from that tree,
mhm,
DNA, like
mhm,
the family tree, and we're likely going to experience that same trauma over and over. And that's why
mhm,
clearing this energy is so important for raising your own vibration,
mhm.
being
Yeah.
not following those same patterns. Um, because who knows? If I didn't go and see this guy, I could have had a heart attack in my 50s. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knows? Um, and that's like part of the healing journey is separating yourself from those ancestral traumas.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
because they do carry over. They carry over through birth and even after that. Um,
For sure.
you know,
Yeah. I think Richard read someone was saying that it was like we carry like 7 generations of our ancestors in our DNA,
that
which
makes
it
sense. Takes
yeah.
7 years to change fully
Yeah.
DNA in the genome or the gene key structure, right? But
Mhm.
even more like a lifetime. And so if we have to do like lifetimes worth, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Well,
also like at the same time, if you believe in that, or if you think about that, like even from a higher vibrational standpoint, and that we're part of a collective, that we don't necessarily have to do all 7 generations in one life. We don't have to do all of that work. We can choose to do certain work, or choose to do, um, like we can still live our lives and not have
y
to fully focus, or we can choose the degree of how much we want to kind of walk that path, because it is a lot of sacrifice and it's a lot of learning. Uh, it's a lot of energy to absorb.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
struggle and perseverance.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, it's not like healing really isn't linear. It's not like,
Hmm.
you know, like we got to start and like do it for 7 years, like go on. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, uh, definitely there's balance to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Finding the
Anybody who's
balance.
listening to this should should listen to the prana video, or not the prana, yeah, like the life force chi, she like the video we did recorded a couple weeks ago, just
Oh
about
yeah,
in general. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Talking about like the discipline without rigidity, but that's a struggle. That's a struggle for me because I really like go between both ends of the spectrum. I'm like
Yeah.
the feminine chaos, or I'm like super, super disciplined, like rigid, masculine.
Yeah. I mean, it's masculine and feminine, right? We need to embody both, but even more so, like I think our whole species and our whole collective needs to embody the feminine.
Yes. We actually like a lot of people talk about balance, which yes, like we do need to balance, but it doesn't necessarily mean like 50-50. Like at this moment in time, we actually really need like more of the feminine. Like we've like really overdone the masculine. So now it's like bring in more of the yin,
Mm-hmm.
the flow and the surrender. And yeah, that is what it feels is happening on a collective level for sure. It's that more and more people are kind of leaning into that. But it does, just like as someone who is leaning into it, and it does feel like kind of uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
to like really settle into the receptive mode and just like not always feel like I have to take control of life and like take the reins, just kind of being more of a passenger at times, but then also, having the intuition and the awareness of like when I do need to like be
Mm-hmm.
disciplined, and like it's a journey, it's a process for sure.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it on a like sort of a galactic scale as well.
Mm,
Because I've heard things about the core of the earth shifting. Like I don't know if you saw that stuff recently, but it was like the core of the earth is actually spinning in the other direction now, and it aligns with
mm,
the whole ending of the Kali Yuga and the whole
mm,
shifting into the age of Aquarius and all of these solar flares that are happening. And it makes me think about I remember watching a video that's talking about how the earth is actually at a not a 90-degree axis in terms of the spiral. It's like shifted off its axis,
mhm.
and it was actually at like 88 or 89 or something.
That's the attraction sphere.
Oh, okay.
Was it from that
Okay.
video?
Yeah. So I knew I got it from something.
Yes.
So I just couldn't remember where. Um, and like as we shift back into that 90, that's where like that's where the Fibonacci sequence starts. Is at that
Mm-hmm.
90.
Mm-hmm.
So like the more we align with things from that higher conscious perspective, from that intention, from like that's the alignment. It's that
Mm,
that's the intention that comes
mm-hmm.
straight down from
Source.
all the way up there. It hits that, and then hits your root chakra, and then starts to spiral outwards
Mm, mm,
and
mhm,
upwards, and it works through the breath and through every single piece of DNA in our body, because our DNA is a spiral structure too, and that's
mhm,
misaligned
mhm, mhm,
because we've been on like a yin or a yang balance off balance for so long that it
Yeah.
like needs to shift like just that much more. And then everything, like everybody's feeling it. It's like a little bit of a pull towards that side. Uh,
Hmm.
everybody's
Remember he was talking about it like in regards to the moon, like it's related to the moon. I don't remember like what he was saying, but it something to do with the moon axis or like where.
yeah, I mean that makes sense too in because I guess the moon is supposed to break off or something at some point and
Mm,
like start to have its own gravitational shift and actually start to spin as well. And that's
okay.
gonna release like a lot of uh so this gets into like some of the darker stuff in terms of like how the moon is being utilized to harvest loosh and shit, like all that stuff. I don't know if you're
To
familiar.
harvest what?
Loosh,
I don't know
which
what
is
that
like
is.
life force energy.
Oh,
Um, and there's like this gets into the whole kind of alien discussion. Like, I don't know if
okay.
you're familiar with any of this stuff. So the how do I go about describing this? And this is part of the energetic synthesis podcast and some of the things that I've been like interpreting from that, as well as connecting with other people who have
Mm,
more knowledge than me about it. But basically,
okay.
there was two planets that had sort of cooler um, cooler planets in general that came to Earth in order to uh, harvest energy, and so they've been living in certain places, uh, potentially underground or like just in certain structures that are detached from nature, let's say, um, and they live and have created hierarchical systems that feed off of energy. And
Mm,
Kara mentioned this in terms of like how a CEO like feeds on the energy below it.
mhm, mhm,
Like when you go to a job, they're like
mm,
literally feeding off of you in terms of money, in terms of energy, in terms of output, like
mm,
and you're detached from nature because you're in a high-rise building. Like you're literally insulated, isolated. And as soon as that like there's like something called like AI red cube technology that harvests loosh, and that like is being used in the moon because it doesn't have its own like axis and its own gravitational force, so it's not releasing any energy. It's just being used to capture.
mm,
I don't know
mm,
exactly how some of this stuff works, but there's like deeper connections to all of the evil and the wrongdoings of these beings and how they're surviving and how they're utilizing these systems to create trauma and to create the literal 3D world that is around us by
mm,
utilizing like news sources and like they've built a whole system that's based on getting rid of the feminine. Like
mm,
we work we work
mm,
12 months a year when there's really only supposed to be 10. There's supposed to be a balance, and there's no balance. And it's
mm,
caused kidney and adrenal failure. More than that,
mhm,
it's like allowed them to create blinders and create lower vibrational beings on this planet, like turn us into lower vibrational beings and have us stuck in certain areas and just like continuously feed off of us. But all this is happening in a way that they know isn't going to last forever because there is like the sun isn't just like hot energy. It's not just like the it's actually magnetism, and that's shifting the polarity of the earth, and there's nothing
mm,
that would stop it because it's moving forward. So it's going to shift it like into that right angle, and there's nothing that they can stop they're just going to continue to like utilize all their tools, and that's why the world is the way it is right now, and there's so much chaos and war and all these crazy things that are happening all over the news.
Mm-hmm.
And even like the weather and like all of this other stuff, it's all being utilized to capture
So
more loot so they can survive, and more energy so they can survive, like more people so they
it's
can
just like
survive.
weird because it's like there's like it's just like the universe is such a like a game. You know, it's like the universe is just playing a game with itself. And we're just like kind all just like what
So
the
people
fuck?
who are, so I posted that 5D map a while ago, and this is
Yeah.
where like some of the like conspiracy stuff gets into, especially
Yeah.
with cues and all of that stuff. And I definitely recommend that anybody watching, as well as you, Katie, I can send you some information about like the Cabal and Zeitgeist. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie, but it was like the collapse of the financial system in 2008 and how it's all fucking rigged, it's all bullshit, and money doesn't,
Mm,
and like it's just used from the top, however many bloodlines, those bloodlines that connect like the Rothschilds and all that stuff. Even we'll get you guys that are higher than that have
mm,
connections to ancient aliens, like from different worlds that live on. It's not like in our 3D sense, like, oh, we can see Saturn and Pluto and like all this stuff from our perspective. It's on different dimensions. we
yeah,
can't we can't interpret, like we can't visualize a fourth dimension.
right.
We're not able to do that because we're not at that, like we haven't detached ourselves enough from that frequency or from that perspective to be able to see it. We can visualize this because it's in a three-dimensional space and we're in a three-dimensional space. But
Mm-hmm,
as soon as we
mm-hmm,
pull ourselves out, like, and when we pull ourselves out of a three-dimensional space, it like a better example is like literally a piece of paper. Like if we're on this piece of paper, we can only visualize things on that piece of paper in that two-dimensional sense. Does that
mm-hmm,
make sense? So we're like, we
mm-hmm,
can only see that way and that way if we're living on this plane.
mm-hmm,
So like as soon as we brought ourselves out of it, oh, now we can see it. There's thickness.
mm-hmm,
There's
mm-hmm,
three. There's
mm-hmm.
more. And so like we can't see on those planes. We can't see fourth and fifth, but there are beings that live on those fourth and fifth, and they've
Mm-hmm.
they've come
Well,
down to
don't
the
you kind
third.
of feel like when you've done DMT, it's like
Yes.
you're accessing those planes. So we know that those planes exist. We know
Yeah.
that there are things going on. Um, but I'm just here on the I came to this plane, so I'm like, I'm gonna focus on this plane and just
Yeah.
doing what I can for this plane because Lord knows what the universe is doing. It's just like
Hmm.
kind of absolute fuckery, really. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
And in a way, it's like literally like you said, it's playing a game or like watching a movie.
yes.
So like just grab your popcorn, you know.
Is that exactly like we just gotta be the light warriors here. Just
Mhm.
stand in your truth, stand in your light, and whatever is gonna happen, whatever's going on, it's all like to me it's all just perfect even though it's like wild and crazy. I still just view everything as perfect because we just always are constantly moving in these cycles, and like you said, we're moving out of the Kali Yuga into the Satya Yuga, and it's just like this is just light, this is just what it does, this is just what the universe does.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know why universe that we need maybe we could channel some answers eventually, but yeah, balance, yin and yang, moving into the feminine, human design and the gene keys, but human design, that's what the design side is. There's personality and design. The design side is 88 days before your birthday, so that's where that 88 comes in.
Oh,
Yeah, so when you're looking at your design side, the red in your human design, if you
yeah.
just look at all of the red and then you look at then you can read it in the gene keys just to kind of get that more universal perspective.
Mhm.
that's like, had the access been, you know, aligned, it should be
Oh,
like that's what your DNA would, that's what would have been playing out. So that's really cool to know. Um,
wow. So like
yes,
as you okay,
that's your unconscious. So
as
that
you shift into that red, you're shifting maybe one gene at a time from 88 to 90.
you're, yes, you're aligning yourself, like you're
Mm-hmm.
coming into that, to that perfect alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
That is wild. Okay, now I get it. That
yeah.
makes sense.
So the personality is kind of like the mask. So everything in the black on the, on that side is like, that's your actual birthday that that you came into this world on. And
Mhm.
then so it's more of like the mask you're wearing, and everything on the red side, that's all of your unconscious. That's 88 days before you were birthed.
Mhm.
And so that's like, that's kind of like who you like really are. So yeah, that's why these systems are so dope, because it's just like this roadmap to truth.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Just
I'm
knowing
excited to
yourself on
see.
a deep level.
I've been thinking about how to really create like a platform for people to um almost take like a high ticket item and align, like find out certain things about themselves and that 88 and where they are and how to shift into the 90, utilizing, let's say, utilizing the what's it called, the kosha, utilizing the kosha, utilizing the chakra, utilizing the movement system that's based around the Fibonacci sequence, the uh utilizing these mental tools, utilizing all of these ways that we can like write almost protocols and things for people that are geared for them specifically, um to like help transmute as many lives as possible so we can get to that 90 degrees, because that's like that's how we'll do it, and that's how the world will do it, and it'll do it on its own time at the same time, but like we're here to help because we're the light warriors type deal, you know,
Yes.
like that's like our job and our purpose, and like that's part of the masculine is finding and knowing the purpose and walking towards that purpose,
Hmm.
and then the yin
Yeah.
like surrendering to that purpose.
Well, and yeah, so it's really just like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing because we're embodying it. And that's really the most important piece of it all. Because it's like we can spit this out all
Hmm.
day, but if it's not embodied, then like, people feel that, and our energy is communicating that too. So I think that we are all on the right path of just like doing this work and, learning about it and studying it. And then also like not just trying, but doing, like
Hmm.
actually taking it in and applying it and working with these systems, and then sharing what we're learning. Like, so we are being the light warriors.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. um yeah, yeah. We are doing it.
We're doing it. Darn it.
Yeah, yeah.